Okay, so picking up where I left off last week, I'm continuing to work on the top of the dash. And what I'm working on now is I have to make a transition from this base here where these plastic ducts end and the top of the dash, which is about, depending on where you're at, it's about a half of an inch to about 3/4 of an inch on this uprise over here. So the piece that I'm working on first is this piece over here. And I'd like to show you while I got it clamped here. And putting in these flutes here. Basically, this is the center line of the car, and what happens here is these are diverters for the air that get progressively leaned over more and more. Hopefully that'll divert the air on a wider fan across the base of the windshield instead of just letting it bleed out of the center and then just eventually get to the driver's side. So I don't know how effective that's going to be, but I did it on my car and it seemed to work okay. At any rate, this piece, once it's done, which I have a few more pieces to weld to it, will go in here and be permanently welded to this top piece, and the duct itself will be able to be slid out from underneath if necessary. But this will stay with the car and be welded to this base here. And then I've got to come over and finish my trim piece that will go on top of this to finish out these this fluted duct that I'm making. Anyway, that's the direction I'm taking. We'll see how it all turns out. Before I get too far with this piece, just wanted to show you this piece is welded in now with the these angled vanes. I still got to touch up in there a little bit, get it black down there in the hole. Anyway, I need to transfer this opening to the panel that I've just worked up over here that'll fit in this area right here. So this panel fits in roughly like that, and so then I'll swap this over once I get it in place, and that'll be my opening for my my defrosters. Anyway, that's what I'm monkeying around with right now. Okay, so here's the this top closure piece pretty much finished. Excuse me. As you can see, these two pieces were especially fiddly because they had to take in the angles that change on the surface of the top of the dashboard, and this whole edge had to be turned down at an angle. Then these slots had to be cut, and also the inner surface turned down at an angle to make them a little bit more rigid, a little bit of aesthetically appealing there. Also, this small hole here, which is for the sensor for the headlights, that had to be beveled down also. So they took quite a bit of time just to make these two pieces to finish out over top of the these outflow ducts here that I have permanently welded in now. So anyway, got to move along to doing the body work on this thing, and getting it painted and everything before I reinstall it for the last time. Because there's nothing stopping me from putting that in permanently at this point. So I'm going to finish it out and do that. All right, with the dashboard protected and the engine compartment taped off also, I went about painting out this priming and painting this upper rim here. That's the back or the front side of the cowl. And now I'm in the process of this is the first coat of a spray sealant. It's like Stop Leak or any of those generic products that you can spray on your gutters or anything like that to create basically a continuous rubber lining inside this area right over here. So I'm gonna wait for that to pop and hit it again. Make sure we don't get any water infiltration into the cabin. Anything I might have missed that I couldn't see, this will spray right into the crevices and stuff. So at any rate, that's what I'm up to. So I'm also in the process of going back and forth doing little projects here, and one of them is to have body worked all this this front rim, and after I got done with that, I hit it with a heavy build primer, sanded it again, and then I hit it with a little texture finish, and one more time with some a satin finish, so that it all evens out. At any rate, this is sitting here drying, and it'll be installed in the car probably tomorrow, so don't accidentally put a big old thumb in the paint somewhere, just in case there's any soft spots. It's pretty good stuff. It dries pretty quick and hard, but I don't want to tempt the fates, as you know. Okay, so this is what this all looks like in place. This is installed now for the last time. That's what the defroster ducts look like, finished out. At any rate, this has got 2 coats now of the rubberized coating in order to seal that all up. I went ahead and reinstall all the components for the dashboard, which I'm going to need. I needed that all to go together to make sure that once I had everything in place, the dash would rock over properly and be locked down with this flange without having any other problems. On that side over there, once I locked it into place, it wanted to pick up pretty good in both of the corners, but there was enough flexibility in the top of the dash that it went back down into place once I put that front rim in there. Also, I needed to put these in because I have to now put the doors back on and engineer the air conditioning duct that goes into the door itself, and see how I'm going to finish out this closer. Now, there's caps that go there, but obviously they're much wider than would be allowed for for this door to close. As you can see, the dashboard is, that's just skinning what will be the inside of the door. So I'm gonna have to make something up here. Hopefully I can utilize the end caps, part of them anyway, and do all that. But anyway, this is what it's looking like. It's starting to look like a little bit like a car now. All right, a lot of little minutia this week. So I'm basically body working this cowl section here, trying to get it as good as I can. I mean, it'll be a textured finish when it's done, but that stuff has a tendency to shrink back, so you can see a lot of imperfections with that stuff. So I'm going to body work it the best I can right now, and move on from here. I'm also taking apart the mechanism for the windshield wipers, and taking this opportunity to paint out all the fabricated rods and any kind of bracketry that I've made up for the windshield wiper mechanism. I tend to like to get things buttoned up, and then so I don't have to keep coming back to them. One of the things I'm going to have to come back to later is the windshield wipers and how the motor comes to rest. Unfortunately, I had to take the arm off the motor itself. The last motor I took apart, there was a little hash mark on the stud that made you able to realign that throw arm back onto the motor, so that when the motor rotates into what they call the park position, which in other words, so there's wipe and then it comes down and then it parks. That when you're messing with it, it's best to keep that arm on if you can, which I couldn't this time because of some circumstances. But anyway, I had to take it off, and there was no hash mark on it, so I had to get it as close as I could, which means it's probably tilted just a little bit out of sync with the park circuit. But it has to be hooked to the car. The car has to be energized in order for all that to happen. So later on down the line, I may have to take the windshield wiper mechanism back out, take the motor, and readjust that little arm to get the arm to be pointing in the right direction when the wipers are at the park or at the rest location. If you don't, what will happen is when it starts to rotate, it'll rotate a little bit downwards and then start to come back up. If you have it a little bit off center. So that's something that has to be attended to later on down the road. Like I said, when I get the car plugged back in and energized. Anyway, that's what I'm up to right now. Okay, so this is what this is looking like reinstalled. As I said before, I may have to uninstall this motor and move this arm in one direction or another, depending upon once I get it set up to the actual car harness and the car is re-energized where everything's plugged in. I'll check the sweep of the motor and make sure that it ends on a cycle that has this arm pointing to its farthest extent out, which would mean this is rotated all the way to the resting position and in the park location. And once I'm sure that it doesn't have any over rotation or it doesn't need to be moved, then this will be in here. This will be in here permanently. This is permanently in here right now. Just this arm section here, and the motor itself might have to be taken back out. But that's what that's looking like right now. And let's see. This is what the sub cowl's looking like right now. I put textured finish on it, and also I hit it with a little bit of the trim black, so it has a satin appearance. I have to go over it again to kind of even it out. You can see there's some areas a little glossier than others. I want to even that all out, and then I'll be pretty much done with that. I have to add a little bit of rubber tape to this edge here because this is metal to metal and it's secured in 3 places on either side, but I want to set up a buzzing or a rattling, so I'll use some of that weather proofing tape, that rubber tape that I showed you before, and we'll go around this entire perimeter so that we don't have any metal to metal contacting there. Anyway, that's that. And I know it's a short video this week. There was a lot of little stuff that wasn't worth filming. Just a lot of sanding, a lot of coating with paint, that type of thing, and cleaning things up, and working on that top of the dash capture, you know, all around in those vents and everything. That was like working on jewelry with a sledgehammer. So it was, you know, a little tedious, a little time consuming, but not worth filming. So appreciate everybody for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.